When the fifth night arrived, Dunyazad said, "Sister, if you are still alive, finish the story for us." Shahrazad replied, "If the king permits, I will." Shahryar said, "Speak." And Shahrazad continued. The third old man stepped forward. He was an elderly man, and with him was a female mule. He said, "O demon, my story is even more astonishing than those of the other two old men. If you hear it, you will know that this mule carries a strange and wondrous tale." The demon said, "Tell it. If it is true, I will grant the final third of this merchant's blood." The old man said, "Know that I was a merchant and I had a wife who was my cousin. We lived together for many years, yet we had no child. One day I discovered that my wife had become devoted to sorcery and had befriended a witch. That woman taught her spells, and my wife betrayed me. One day, as I was returning from a journey, I overheard my wife speaking with the sorceress, saying, 'If my husband stands in my way, I will turn him into a dog or a mule.' That night, when I entered the house, I saw my wife reciting incantations. Suddenly she sprinkled water upon me and said, 'By God's command, become a mule.' But the spell was not fully completed, for I had performed ablution beforehand. Thus, half of the enchantment returned upon her, and she herself was transformed into a mule. When I saw this, I left her in that state, and time passed. One day I went to the bathhouse, where I met an old woman who asked about my condition. When she heard my story, she said, 'If you bring this mule to me, I will restore her to her former shape, on the condition that you punish her afterward.' I brought the mule to her. The old woman recited the spells, sprinkled water, and said, 'By God's command, return to your former shape.' At once the mule was transformed back into my wife. I too had learned sorcery. I sprinkled water upon her and said, 'By God's command, return to the form of a mule.' And she became a mule once more, as you see her now, and so she has remained to this very day." The third old man said, "O demon, this mule is my wife, and this is her story." When the demon heard the tale, he was filled with amazement and said, "Truly your story is more wondrous than the two that came before it." Then he said, "I grant the final third of this merchant's blood as well." And thus the merchant was set free. At this point, Shahrazad stopped. Dunyazad said, "Sister, what a wonderful story it was." Shahrazad said, "If I'm alive tomorrow night, I will tell you a more wonderful story." And Shahryar said, "Do not kill her.